Good to have you guys with us. Safety Jonathan Crawford, offensive lineman Wes Martin, wide receiver Luke Timian. Guys, welcome. Welcome to Chicago.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Year one under Tom Allen in the books. What was the biggest thing that you learned from Coach? I want to work down with each one of you. So, Jonathan, we'll start with you.
One thing I think I've learned is from him is nothing can break you. That's something he always said, and I feel like that's something that can go on the football field and off. So I feel like that's the most important thing I've got from him.
How about you, Wes?
I'd say the biggest thing is just, trying to mimic his passion and his energy. His energy level is unlike anything I've ever seen before.
Luke? Just the way he approaches the game. He truly is a student of the game. He doesn't, think he knows it all. And that I try to match that. I try to, study all the tape I can and really be a student of the game as well.
I know he talks a lot about culture and kind of getting the culture where he wants it to be within your program. How would you describe, Luke, the culture of the program right now?
Yeah, our culture is definitely improving. It's one thing that we have really emphasized is mentality. And, we really are just working on finishing in everything we do. Not coming up short anymore, and just maximizing our potential as a program.
Something I think is really interesting that Coach does is makes each one of you choose a word that's going to be your word for the year. So I want to know from each one of you, and Jonathan, I can start here. We can work our way down. What your word is this year, and then why? Tell me why you chose it.
My one word is work, and I believe without putting in the work, you won't get anything out. So I feel like the more work you put in, the more you get out, and I feel like it's my last year. So right now, I just want to give it all I can, all the work I can possibly do, and come out on top on everything I do.
How about you, Wes?
My one word is knock. And the story behind that is, the way I believe is, if you knock on the door, it'll be opened. So I just want to keep knocking on that door, whatever that may be, and I think that door will eventually be open.
Luke?
My one word is believe, and that kind of goes back to the mentality thing is not hoping you can win, but really believing you can win.
So how do you guys go about choosing these? I mean, is it just you come in and you say, this is my word, or is it in conjunction with the coaching staff to figure out kind of what your priorities are? I mean, how does work come about as your word?
For me, it's solely on us. So honestly, it comes from where I've been raised. So really just things I've done on and off the field, and I feel like just putting it all together and then finding one word that you want to use for 1 year.
And then you just come in and say, this is my word. My word is knock. And then do you have to explain it to the coaches in your case? Or?
Yeah, you do. They give you a little bit of time to kind of look out there and kind of let your heart find what the one word is that you think fits you for that year.
And how often do you think about that word, Luke? I mean, is it something you think about every day?
Yeah, it's something I wrote down, so I see it. It's the first thing I see when I wake up.
Let's work through this team a little bit, and I think one of the obvious priorities for you guys is to become a little more potent offensively. So you two guys are offensive players, one a lineman, one a skill position player. Let's start with you, Luke. From your point of view, how do you become more potent offensively?
Yeah, it's just really making explosive plays, not letting the defense sit on our stuff, but really stretching the field. We're getting some really good playmakers back. And I think that'll help be a more complete offense.
Wes, how do you see it?
We got to be more dominant up front. That's something that we take a lot of pride in. And it's something we got to do a better job of this year. The big guys, we got to dominate games, dominate drives. So.
Jonathan, on the other side of the ball, defensively, that's probably the area where you guys have hung your hat a little bit over the last couple of years, but you lost a lot in that secondary. I mean, Chase Dutra, Rashard Fant, Tony Fields. How does your role change now in the defensive backfield?
It's going to be a lot of young guys now. I feel like it's up to me to make sure I lead these guys in the right direction. Just make sure they understand the people that were here before, understand they left their mark, the mark they left. So I feel like I have to leave mine on them so they know what to do in the future.
Overall, you guys lost a lot of production on that defense. What's the area that you are most interested to see develop defensively?
Honestly, making plays, more interceptions, just more scoring on defense, just to help the offense out. Just putting more on the defense's shoulders so we can make more plays.
Are there individuals that haven't necessarily stood out in the past that you think could help contribute to that we may be hearing from this year?
I believe Raekwon Jones, definitely, middle linebacker.
Okay. Wes, I'm fascinated in your background. I mean, you're a Big Ten distinguished scholar. Takes a GPA of 3.7 or higher to do that. It's pretty tough when you're playing a sport. So to be able to balance academics and athletics, what's been the biggest key for you?
Yeah, so I mean, it is tough. You know, a lot of times when you're studying, you're really tired, and studying is honestly the last thing you want to do. But you have to make sure to find time for that, and that's really been the key for me, just staying disciplined and finding the time to get in my studies and make that a priority and take that extremely seriously.
So you're a criminal justice major, correct?
I am, yeah.
What do you ultimately want to do with that?
Well, so I'm a criminal justice major and an outdoor recreation and human ecology minor, and I would like to be like a wildlife officer one day, like a DNR officer.
Okay, how did you get into, well, how did that become an interest of yours?
Yeah, so I grew up, you know, in a small town, Ohio, doing a lot of hunting and fishing, things like that, of that nature. So that was always a job and an area that I found really interesting. So.
All right. Luke, you've been seen more as a possession receiver in your career. Do you think that that role may change a little bit this year? I mean, some of the deep threats gone, particularly Simi Cobbs.
Yeah, it's for sure something that I've been working really hard at. You know, I think that's, you know, really a knock on my speed when I'm labeled a possession receiver. I've really been working with Dr. Ray and working on my speed and, you know, just getting out of my cuts quicker. And I think you'll see a completely different receiver this fall.
How do you get faster? I mean, if that is indeed a priority, how does a receiver say, I'm going to improve my speed?
Yeah, it's so for me, I had some hamstring issues, and it was kind of mentally holding me back. So that's one thing that I was working with him on is, you know, working over speed. So actually training faster than I can run by myself, and it helped me get over the mental barriers.
You were a walk-on. Is it strange when you see going from someone who nobody thought was a scholarship player in this league to now being here at this kind of celebration of Big Ten football and being looked at as one of the elite players on your team and by extension in the league?
Yeah, it's surreal. I'm just cherishing every moment I get to spend with these guys. I'm very honored to be here to represent Indiana University and our football team.
Jonathan, for you guys defensively, one of the areas where you lacked a little bit last year were the interceptions, just 5 as a team last season. Kind of along the lines of what Luke was talking about, where how do you get better working on your speed? How do you get better at being a team that creates turnovers and specifically interceptions?
I believe a mindset has to change. You have to actually want it, actually want the game on your back, actually want to make plays, the one-on-one plays that you have to make. Honestly, just more emphasis in practices, even though we do that now, but I feel like just actually have to want it.
So how do you emphasize interceptions in practice? Like, give me a sense of what that would actually look like on the field in a drill.
We have to get 3 takeaways every practice, and if we don't get those, we have gassers. And if we get any type of big plays on it, we take away one of those takeaways. And if we don't get takeaways, it's negative, so it's even more gassers. So that's something we definitely don't want to do, so it's definitely something we focus on.
Okay, so how did that go in the spring? I mean, you guys are prioritizing it. Did you see an improvement there?
Yeah, definitely. Spring is probably the time we ran the least, honestly. So I feel like that's where it starts.
Wes, Bruce Feldman put you on his annual freaks list for your exploits in the weight room. How does that kind of give me a sense of how that impacts you when you see yourself mentioned among this group of really elite physical talents?
Yeah, it's a big honor to be part of that list. It's the weight room, something I've taken a lot of pride in. It's something I've put a lot of hours in, a lot of dedication. So to be a part of that list is a huge honor to me.
What's your greatest weightlifting accomplishment?
I put up 535 on bench 2 weeks ago. That's my biggest number now on that. So I was pretty stoked about that.
Is that the best number on the team?
Yes,
on the bench?
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. This line was good last year. You weren't great. There were times where you had trouble running the ball. Where do you feel that is in its development in terms of the run game on offense?
Yeah, we have a lot more experience this year coming back. We had a lot of guys last year playing with very little experience, had some injuries, that kind of, set us back a little bit. So having those guys back and have more experience and more depth this year, I think will help. We've also, this offseason, the strength and conditioning program is going to be huge for that. Coach Ballou he prides himself on getting the guys up front ready for battle. So I think you're going to see a lot different play from the guys up front.